Time for an indoor growing update. Welcome back to the channel. I've been umming and ahhing about how I'm going to redo this shelf. I kind of started it the other day and then got a little discouraged. I think I have it now, and I think Wednesday I'm going to actually redo the shelf. But today, as you can see, these plants are growing really well, and I'm going to take them out and talk about them one at a time. This is my testing of the beets. Now they'll go in the compost. It's way too early for beets. I just wanted to test this tray that I've made here. And they're growing well. We'll see when I plant the onions. But for the most part, this soil is being kept moist by its contact with the wicking mat here. But still, especially on the edges, some of the plugs are not quite down touching, and it being so dry here, when I come along and the surface of the soil is wet, so really just twice a day I take this as water in it, and I just spray it till water is beating up on the top, and then I let it go again. They seem to be doing well. Now they're a little laggy because what I've got set up here, I couldn't get the lights down really close to them. I'm going to talk about this one first because it is the one that I'm happiest with right now. So you remember I repotted the chives, and by the way, I've been calling these garlic chives because I bought them, the label said garlic chives, but one of my viewers pointed out that they looked like onion chives to him, that garlic chives add flat leaves. Actually, I'll nip off one and I'll bring it up close. Let's see if we can do this. You see, it has a round leaf. So I did my fact checking and checked it out, and sure enough, garlic chives have flat leaves. So this is either onion chives or just your basic chives, like the wild chives. These are not garlic chives. Delicious though, nonetheless. And so I split them up, and I have 3 upstairs and this one. It is, as you can see, growing beautifully, and it's cut off top because, okay, the lights were about right here, and they had grown up about this high. And I cut some off and used on my sandwich there a couple of days ago. So now that I've shown you that, I can cut them down again and pick the brown out of it. That is the brown that you would have seen the last time when I cut them down, and it was pretty much all brown. These are the summer savory. I cut the tops off this one there this morning, actually, because I wanted to get some for my eggs and toast. So he's kind of looking funny now. I do have the occasional aphids around, but not too bad of infestation. This one, he was just going out laying down. I cut him off and now he's growing up. But the soil is remaining a little drier. And what the trouble is, you see it's got a lip down here. So this is raised up, so it's not really making good contact. I'm going to get a piece of the wicking mat and just put in underneath here, and then it'll be okay. But they were growing actually very well. I am quite happy. The lettuce were slow, as you know from the last update, and this is a month later. They're not very big. but they're starting to look nice, and the soil was drying out. And once again, it being so dry here with the stove going alongside, and I picked them up. What I noticed was the holes. You see, this is the bottom, and you've got a ridge up here, and the holes are up. And so I took these little pieces of wicking material and stuck in there. So now the soil is staying moist. And since I done that, which was only 4 days ago or something, I've noticed that they are doing much better. I think they will start to take off here now, but this pot is getting pretty crowded. I might have to take out some and just leave maybe 2 in there. The lime basil, I am very happy with this one as well. And the reason being, upstairs I couldn't get it to grow, neither in the sunroom nor by the bay window. Basically, it would be weak and it would attract aphids like nuts, and they would just suck the life right out of it. But as you can see, it's looking really healthy here. And I have harvested from this 3 times, I believe it was now. And it's continuing to bush out because I am harvesting from it. And looking like a really nice plant. Underneath, you see its roots are right down to the bottom now. So it's doing very well. I'm going to put these 2 side by side because the main difference is the size of the leaves. This is sweet basil and this is mammoth basil. And if I tip them like that, you can see the leaf size is very different. Hence the name for mammoth basil over on this side. I think they're doing well. I am getting the occasional bad leaf. This one has a little bit of brown on them. And whether that's due to a lack of light or what, I don't know. I will have to study that. It's got its roots here. I think the mammoth basil is got a lot more roots. And I have harvested from both the sweet basil and the mammoth basil several times. Here's another beauty. I might be able to put them up into a bigger pot. This is the winter savory. And I have 3 that are growing really well. I've harvested, just chopped off the top to keep them down low like this several times. Wonderful growth on them. They're not root bound yet, but the roots are coming out the bottom. This is the one that I showed right at the beginning of the video. The hot pepper plant. This is from a child of my pepper of unknown variety. So of course that's all I can call it, is hot pepper. He's doing very well here in the grow room. It's coming to the point now that soon I guess I will be potting it up into a bigger pot. But he's not root bound. You can see its roots starting to come out the bottom, but not serious. St. John's wort. This is the largest of them. As I said in the past videos, they start out so slow. So I'm going to zoom in now. So here he is. So what happens with these is that they start out, they come up as this little tiny peck of a green. For quite a few months they'll stay slowly growing, and this one's up this big now. You'll probably start to grow faster, and so by the time June comes, I'll wait until after the last frost, then he should be a fairly large plant for St. John's wort in this cup. I'll zoom out and I'll show you what I mean by a fairly large plant. He'll be up maybe like this high, or sometimes they spread out and hang over. Not a huge plant, but quite big enough for me to plant out into the garden. The Greek oregano, I think they're growing slow, in my opinion. But they're getting themselves established anyway, because this is the bushiest of the ones I have. I have 4, or is it 6? I can't remember. But it sent its roots all the way to the bottom. So it's getting itself well established. So this small one here, it doesn't have its roots down there yet either. So it hasn't grown as fast. But they do look healthy, so I'm happy. Now here's another thing to be happy about. Remember in my last update I said the parsley wasn't doing very well? Well, you see, what I was trying to do was top water all of these as the soil dried out. And I don't think I was doing a very good job. And I said enough of that, so I started filling up these troughs again and using the wicking mat to keep the soil moist. And since I've done that, the parsley has perked up. And I was looking back through my research records and I realized these things are hardy to zone 5. I didn't think I planted the parsley plant in the garden last year either. It grew to a very big size. So that's exciting. I'm going to have several of these planted out this year. If we get a lot of snow, like this year we're getting a lot of snow, so that one that was there may grow again. It's a matter of really how much snow we get, whether or not these plants will grow again for me in the next year. The lavender are growing. Unfortunately, we don't have a spring gathering here at the community center, so I can't bring it down for a raffle object. I'll see, I've got 4 or 5 lavender plants out there now. I will have to find out if somebody wants one of these when they get to be a fair size. These 2 little guys here, they're red bell peppers. I have to position them a little better than what I have them there, but I've got them set there so that I can show you. I put from the seeds that I mentioned 6 California Wonder, 6 Red Bell, and I only add the 1 Shepherd left. I'm kind of hoping that Mackenzie is going to put them out again this year, because that's where I got the Shepherd pepper, Mackenzie seeds. 2 of the Red Bell sprouted, and I just showed them to you, and nothing else. So that was a pity, because I wanted to get a good California Wonder growing. What I did realize when I was up in the sunroom, and I was thinking that I just had fat and sassy peppers there, and I looked at the label. This is a California Wonder. It's a little limp now because I just brought it down here and it was cold out in the sunroom last night. So I put it here in the grow room and see how it reacts. The leaves, as you can see, they're crinkled. That is store-bought potting soil. So once again, I've been talking about that. I don't know if I've got potting soil with herbicide in it or not. This is the tiny Tim in the grow room, and it's starting to flower. I have to change this. I was top watering these as well, but today I said enough of that, because reaching up over and trying to get the little sprinkler in to get the plants watered was kind of awkward. And so I said, that's it, I'm going to fix this. This one was leaking and I couldn't get it to stop. But I got at it today and I managed to get the leaks all fixed. Got it full of water here. And then I'm back to using the wicking mat. I need to put some wicks in those too. Actually, those peppers, they're getting fair size. I think I'm going to put them up in pots this size. So I'm back to using the wicking mat for my bigger plants as well. There's the basil, doing nicely. I've chopped quite a few pieces off that as well. So the chocolate peppers, they're coming along. Now, these guys, they're beautiful. Oh, I'll put one out to show you that out on the desk. So, can I get this to fit in there right? Yes, okay, just barely, but beautiful. Now, they were in the small red cups, as you know, and they were getting root bound. So I transplanted them up, and he's growing really beautifully now. I'm going to have to start harvesting these lower leaves. They are starting to get a little light, but that's what they do anyway, and you harvest the lower leaves and it grows up and up, right? So I have those two pots there now. Since I'm at this, I'll bring down a pepper plant and show you. So the pepper plants down here are slowly growing. They're not growing as fast as the ones in the bay window, but these are the only ones I got a pepper on. Now this pepper is just a deformed pepper. The other one, as you've seen, was straight on the other plant. The leaves are looking fairly good. They open up and they're not all crinkly. Currently I'm still having to water the top because I don't have a bottom part done for the wick to water up into. And like I said, I'm going to find a couple of pots and upgrade them. Now we can talk about the bay window again. We're getting some sunny weather now, so that is somewhat good, somewhat bad, because when you got sunny weather in the winter, you also got cold weather. And the trouble is, right out by the window, it's very cold. And on some of the colder nights, the summer savory, it completely succumbed. First thing I really wanted to show you here was the chives, because as you can see, down in the grow room they're growing perfect. Up here they're growing again, but nothing to be getting excited about. Now another special thing though I want to show you. So these are the pepper plants. They had not had any peppers on them yet, but they're flowering fairly well now. And you see that? There's a pepper growing there. And over here, there's another pepper. Now, I don't have a big problem with aphids. I don't know if you can see the aphids on that flower or no. They seem to like to get on the flowers. Okay, now let's go over to the other side. You can see there's a pepper growing in there too. I did not pollinate those flowers. That was the aphids done that. So, well, we don't like the aphids there. Keeping them down so they don't really damage the plants. They pollinated 3 pepper plants for me. This, I think, is one of the black oil sunflowers. pepper of unknown variety. I have 2 more growing there, almost right there I mean, and one that's 3/4 right down there. The leaves on that thing, he looks so crinkled and wrinkled. It's like, man, are you healthy? The Tiny Tims, between me not really giving it enough water, I don't know if I gave it enough water, I should say, and then it was sitting right out by the window, so on those cold nights it did get cold. He's kind of looking sickly, but it's flowering. And so is this one. This one's a little more healthy. This little green thing here, he hasn't moved very much. And of course, this is my rosemary. So nice to come along and just brush against it, and just send the scent. It smells so delicious. Same thing with the marjoram. And when I had basil here, I don't have basil here now. In the north-facing window. Remember last time I done an update? This thing was like a little tiny thing down here. I think it was maybe an inch above the pot. It's decided to grow. Maybe because, like I said, we've had sunny days, so even though it's north-facing, it is getting light now. The basils, they're looking pretty anemic. The Mammoth Basil, this is the Mammoth Basil, and that's a sweet basil. It's not doing very much, so they're no good for any north-facing window. That's the chocolate pepper plant. So it is doing well, and I need to put it into a bigger pot. And this is the hot pepper, which is coming along. They'll grow slower because they're getting less light, but if that's all you got, it seems like you can have an indoor pepper plant in a north-facing window. The chives in the north-facing window are actually doing better than the ones that were in the bay window. Probably because it's warmer here. This is the kitchen, right? So now we're out here in the sunroom. California Wonder Pepper, that was sitting right there, the one I brought downstairs. The Fat and Sassy Pepper. Oh, that was a California Wonder as well. Apparently. That succumbed, this one here. And of course the eggplant that had succumbed last time. And I guess I don't have a Bitterbush tomato plant anymore. This is an hybrid, so it was no good for me to save seeds to try and have a Bitterbush to grow Bitterbush from seed. The nice thing, I was looking at this morning, and I did this last year as well. If you have an area like this that you can keep pretty cool, then you don't have to start everything all at once. You got, say, the little room downstairs, and you've only got so much area to grow them. Start them, you've got a little plant, you put them in the cool, they're getting a bit of light, but they're pretty much dormant. They'll sit there for months. And when it comes time to plant them, you can plant them. And that way, in your little tight seed starting area, then you can start your seeds, get your plant growing, put them out in the cool, and just let them sit. They won't die, but they won't grow either until you put them out in your garden come whatever time you plant your garden. Practically did nothing out here. But once again, you would expect that because, like I said, it's cool, right? He was a little limp this morning, but that was because it got down to 0 degrees here last night. He's perked back up now. This thing, has been slowly dying. Every time it goes down to 0 or close on it, it droops and it seems to never recover. Comes back up a little bit and then down. Of course, you can see all the bottom leaves are dead now. It's just barely hanging on. This is the one in the store-bought potting soil. This is the one in my mix. And this is the hot pepper. I came out here one day and it had gotten down to -2, I believe it was, in here. And that was laid right over flat on the ground. I said, oh, he's gone. But it warmed up and no, he perked back up. It's the hot pepper. He's not growing, but he's sitting there. He's alive. This is in the store-bought potting mix too. Got a weed growing there. But I put the extra thing over it because, like I said, I wanted to make sure I kept these two. There's little bumps all over that leaf, remember that. But as you can see, it hasn't grown one iota. It's just sitting there kind of dormant. And this, okay, so this one has, it's not as bumpy as the one leaf on the other plant though. So, I'm not sure if I can tell any difference between the health of this plant and that one or no. Oh, and by the way, there's something missing. I used the bigger spaghetti squash, and then I had the smaller ones sitting there, and they started to get rotten spots on them, so the other day I took them in and I cooked them all. So, it was the first week of October, so we got October, November, December, January, half of February, so 4.5 months they lasted here. My next video is going to be about seeds, my new seeds for 2020, and a special way of preparing seeds for which most of us have the materials kicking around the house, and we usually throw them in the garbage. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget that thumbs up button and the subscribe button, and I'll talk to you soon.